Hello everyone and welcome back to a short EP review. And in this video I'm going to review Novo System by Gesaffelstein. Gesaffelstein started gaining his fame after he was a part of the production in some of the tracks out of the Kanye West album Jesus. And more recently he got his hands in the production of some of the later The Weeknd releases. What he presented though with his debut Aleph was a really interesting dark electronic album and the sound of industrial techno and tech house that for a mainstream appeal it's quite dark and menacing. Unfortunately, all of those elements faded away with his next album, Hyperion, which was one of my biggest disappointments from last year. Mostly because it went into a more synth-pop and R&B direction that didn't really fit his style, and most of the tracks would sound quite generic and average at best, so that was a big disappointment in my opinion. Now this brand new EP over here came completely out of nowhere. No teaser tracks to this thing, no nothing. He just released this thing out of the blue. And I decided to give this a listen, but I didn't have many expectations about it since I was really underwhelmed with his previous effort. However, this one over here, Novo System, feels sort of like a return to form. At least this one doesn't have some generic features. It's an instrumental EP, and while it's a bit different than anything else he has released before, there are moments that remind me some of his works on Aleph, especially with the track Doom. This one sounds a lot like some of my favorite tracks, Pursuit and Trance, mainly because they have this aggressively heavy and nasty bass synth sounds, and tracks like Pursuit, for example, are the ones that made Gesaffelstein that much of an intriguing figure in the mainstream. Also, tracks like Ignio and Dance X have elements that feel sort of like a throwback to his sound back with Aleph. But like I said before, this is also an EP that goes into a bit of a different direction. For example, the track Orc sounds like an 80s new wave throwback. Also, tracks like Dance X and Novo System have a bit of a more old school vibe to them, something out of the 2000s electro scene. And also the track Metallotronics is also quite different since it has a rock oriented sound with this heavy and nasty drum beats combined with some of the elements that were usually known from the sound of Gesaffelstein when it comes to some of the synth parts. For a quite short EP, this is a varied release that has lots of elements that mostly go into EBM and even some industrial techno and synth punk sounds at the end. I think that I would definitely want more out of this EP was for some of these ideas to be a bit more developed. For example, the tracks Ignio and Doom, as far as they're my favorite tracks out of this entire EP, I would love for them to be a bit longer since they're just 2 minutes long and that's about it. In my opinion, these ideas could have been developed into something more, they could be more fleshed out. The same with the tracks Novo System and Metallotronics, but it's especially with the tracks Ignio and Doom that they feel quite short and I would like more out of them. Also, the track Novo System has to be my least favorite moment since the synths out of this thing sound a bit silly, they're a bit all over the place, they're not really my cup of tea. It's a quite silly track, but that's about it. I think the rest of the EP has some really nice and interesting ideas. It definitely still lacks the dark aesthetic and the energy of his album Aleph, but at least it doesn't have that much of the mainstream appeal of Hyperion, which was definitely a sound that it didn't fit for him in my opinion. So Novo System feels a bit like a return to form and I'm pleased with this release. It exceeded my expectations, not something that crazy, but it's still a satisfying one. I'm going to give this EP a 7 out of 10. What's your opinion on this EP? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.